When you're ready.
Hi, my name is Zoe Kretschmer and I'm a senior at Benilde St. Margaret's High School. My research question is, how do positive reinforcements affect 18-year-old athletes' resilience in regarding physically challenging activities? This table of contents addresses all of the topics I will be covering throughout this presentation, starting with identifying my research question and goal, initial assumptions, moving on to my research process and method, continuing with evidence, and finalizing with my conclusions. In order to understand my question, resilience is categorized as the ability to undergo and withstand difficult challenges and obstacles. Resilience is an extremely important characteristic in sports due to the required composure and focus athletes need. Being resilient allows athletes to perform the best when it matters the most. I chose 18-year-olds as my age group because I personally relate to the question since I'm 18 and an athlete. My goal for this project was to discover the physical and mental lengths 18-year-old athletes are willing to endure in order to become the best at the sport they're doing. I decided to make this my research question because I'm very interested in athletics and was curious to discover which type of enforcements would motivate athletes to be the best at what they do. I thought that if I was able to discover what was able to drive athletes to that next level of reaching their ultimate potential, then my research can make a significant impact on high school and collegiate sports. My theory was that by using the motivator of being first and winning, that athletes' resilience levels would increase the most, even over the reinforcement method of encouragement, and I found that hypothesis to be correct. I believe that all successful athletes have a drive within themselves, a strive to become the best at what they do, and my goal was to unlock that drive and take it to the next level. I attempted this goal by situating 10 athletes into 2 physically straining exercises, planks and push-ups. To obtain the optimal results, I decided to incorporate 1 stamina and 1 endurance exercise each. For the stamina exercise, I chose push-ups, and for the endurance exercise, I chose planks. I chose these 2 exercises because they can both be difficult when done properly and to a certain extent, and I strive to challenge the participants and push their mental and physical limits. This particular design is the optimal choice for my research because by having the participants undergo physical activity, the reinforcements they are given should translate from this exercise into the sport in their real life. To ensure that the order of the exercises wouldn't hinder the results or integrity of my experiment, I flipped a coin and allowed fate to determine which exercise would go first. I assigned heads to push-ups and tails to planks, as well as assigning heads to the encouragement method and tails to the reward method. I had 2 separate groups participate as well. The first group consisted of 4 girls, and the second group was 6 people, 4 girls and 2 boys. The instruments I used to conduct my experiment were an open space with an abundant amount of room for the participants to move around freely in, as well as a timer to track the length of each rep. For my procedure, I brought each group to a gymnasium in Benilde St. Margaret's High School called the Great Hall. You can see that area in the upper left-hand corner. I had them get comfortable in this space and spread out about a foot apart, which again you can see in the bottom corner. They prepare themselves for the experiment by stretching, breathing, drinking water, etc. For both the stamina and endurance exercises, I had the participants place their feet flat against the wall, so there weren't any advantages in that aspect between form. So as you can see in this picture, all the participants have their feet flat against the back of the wall. And when each set was completed, I gave the participants a limited time to rest and prepare for the next set. For the planks, I had the groups perform the exercises indefinitely, and each set would only end when all the athletes had given up. For the push-ups, I set a 30-second timer and told the participants to perform as many push-ups as they could within that time limit. For the first set in both exercises, I'd stayed silent to not influence or impact the results in any way. However, for the second set, I would cheer on and encourage the participants by saying phrases such as, "You're doing great, keep going, keep pushing, nice job, keep it up," etc. For the last set, instead of cheering on the participants and encouraging them, I used bribery and reward tactics and played into their competitive driven sides. I would say phrases such as "finish first," and "if you beat everyone and win, you'll be rewarded with any prize of your selection," etc. My experiment ended up proving my hypothesis that by using the motivator of being first and winning, the athlete's resilience levels would increase the most, even over the reinforcement method of encouragement. The participants' resilience levels were revealed through the statistics the bar graph shows. If an individual holds their plank longer in one rep versus another, it proves they're being resilient, fighting their mental and physical limitations in order to reach their desired outcome, receiving a reward. Additionally, I noted that for every set a participant did their best in, they showed physical struggle, such as grunting, a red, squinted, concentrated face, shaking, and more. This physical reaction demonstrates the resilience the athletes were undergoing. So this first set represents the plank group. The blue color represents the control group, where I was silent and didn't say anything. The green represents the encouragement, where I was cheering them on and using positive phrases. And the red represents the reward group, where I informed them that if they outperformed the members in their group, they would receive a reward of their choosing. To keep the participants anonymous, I titled them participants 1 through 10 and excluded their names. And on the left-hand side, the numbers represent the time and the limits for how long each participant performed per set. At the top, you can see the average. So the average length the groups combined did for the control group was 1 minute and 3 seconds. And for the encouragement reinforcement group, they lasted 51 seconds, so it decreased. And for the reward group, it increased to 1 minute and 9 seconds. As you can see, 70% of the athletes performed better by holding a longer plank when told they were going to receive a reward than when they only received encouragement. I believe it's also important to note that 70% of the participants performed worse when they were being encouraged, compared to when I was silent and no reinforcement was given. For the push-up graph, this is pretty much identical to the plank graph. The colors remain the same, where blue represents the control group, green represents the encouragement group, and red represents the award. Once again, the participants are anonymous, and instead of the time on the left-hand side, I counted the amount of push-ups. So that's what those numbers represent. The amount of push-ups the control groups did combined were 14.7 per 30 seconds. For the encouragement group, that number decreased to 11.8 push-ups per 30 seconds. For the reward group, the number increased to 16.5 push-ups. So similar to the planks, 80% of the athletes performed better by doing more push-ups when told they were going to receive a reward than when they only received encouragement. Also similar to the planks, 70% of the participants performed worse when being encouraged than when I was silent and no reinforcement was given. When the experiment concluded, I followed through on my promise of rewarding the winners of the stamina and endurance categories. The winners of the push-up exercises were participants 9, a boy from the second group, and participants 4, a girl from the first group. For the planks, the winners were participants 4, a girl from the first group, and participants 5, a girl from the second group. For their rewards, they chose gum, chocolate-covered strawberries, and an arrangement of fruit. And like I said earlier, I combined both groups into one graph just so it would be more simpler to present. And as I mentioned earlier, all the participants were 18 years old. There was a wide variety of sports the participants played, including volleyball, Irish dance, soccer, ultimate frisbee, swim and dive, hockey, lacrosse, cross country, and soccer. Having this amount of variety benefits my research significantly because it shows how well each reinforcement tactic can transfer over from one sport to another. However, there are limitations to my experiment that affect the quality of my findings and ability to effectively answer my research question. The primary limitation includes not being able to conduct this experiment with each athlete in their own sport, which is the environment in which my question would thrive and be proved most effectively. Since some of these athletes' seasons are over, I do not have access to the resources required to conduct the experiment in their natural environment, unfortunately. If I were able to do this project again, I would begin my experiment in the early fall and work throughout the school year into the late spring in order to collect the desired data that would best prove my hypothesis. However, overall, my research question was answered and my hypothesis for the question was correct. I researched how do positive reinforcements affect an 18-year-old athlete's resilience regarding physically straining and challenging activities, and was answered with the theory that by using the motivator of being first and winning, the athlete's resilience levels would increase the most, even over the reinforcement method of encouragement. My findings can be transferred into the late high school and early collegiate sports fields, and how by providing reward systems and implementing a desire to win in each athlete that's around 18 years old, the teams will perform significantly better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hey, some questions. Excuse me. How did choices you made when designing your research method impact your process?
Great question, Mr. Peterson. The choices I made when designing my research method, such as which exercises to assign, impacted my process significantly. If I decided to have the participants perform physically straining activities that related directly to their sport, such as box jumps for volleyball, the outcomes of the project might have shifted. I don't know 100% if my data will transfer into the participants' athletics in real life, since I did not perform the experiment in the sport's natural environment. However, if I did, I would have a more direct answer to my question, but I believe my data will transfer over anyways.
Okay. Another question. How do your findings provide directions for future research?
My findings provide directions for future research in the field of sports, because now athletic departments can know that having a reward and/or bribery system in place for their athletes will result in the athlete's biggest motivator in most cases, which will result in more wins for the teams. Now, because of my findings, there can be more research on what types of rewards are best, whether it's immediate rewards such as sugary treats or long-term rewards such as winning a national championship.
Okay. Last question. How did you handle the uncertainty of the research process?
Right. So every time I encountered doubts and thoughts of uncertainty throughout the research process, I would turn to my peers and classmates and ask them for advice on where to go next. There were a few times where I was stuck and didn't know how to continue and move forward in my exploration, such as not knowing what type of exercises to conduct. My peers helped me break down various exercises into stamina and endurance categories and helped me regroup my thoughts. It's through my trusted classmates that I was able to persevere through my uncertainties.
Okay, thank you.